Welcome to Your Business, Your Life with Matt DiFrancesco, your personal financial technician. Whether you've had years of success in your business or just starting out, High Lift Financial can help you create a vision for your business, life, and family, and align these for generational wealth. So as they say, what happens in your life affects your business. And now, on to the show. Well, hello, and welcome to Your Business, Your Life with me, Matt DiFrancesco. And I actually just finally took my own advice. I'm always, if you've heard me on either the podcast or a Collision Cocktail Hour, I'm always promoting getting renewal time. And so my wife and I finally took 12 days, did our actual first cruise on the Mediterranean. So we were real excited about that. So I'm now re-energized and raring to go. And I'm really excited today because I've got a guest on that I've been wanting to get on this podcast for a while. And it's Kyle Bradshaw. He's a director of fixed operations at K&M Collision. And he's also the president of the Carolina Collision Association. And Kyle's a second generation collision owner and a leader who's passionate about operational excellence, developing great teams, and advancing the collision repair industry through education, advocacy, and leadership. He's become a respected voice in the industry. I've not only met Kyle at the Carolina conference, but also at many other conferences where he's spoken. And he's really helping to shape the future of the collision repair industry across not only the Carolinas, but all over the country. So Kyle, welcome to Your Business, Your Life.
Dude, thank you so much for having me, Matt. Super happy to be here. Excited to chat with you.
Sounds good. And like I said, I've been wanting to get on because I know you and your brother have an operation that I think many people in the country look up to. And So one of the things I want to talk to you about is, you're both an operator and association president. What do you see as the outlook for the independent collision shop over the next 5 to 10 years? Because I think there's a lot of owners out there who don't know what their options are and think maybe the only way out is to get out.
Yeah, that's been a big thing, right? Like with the consolidation and certainly something that I think you can get left behind in this industry really, really quickly, especially with the advancements of technology and, certainly depending on the size of your business, it not only is it about fixing the vehicle, right, but it's about empowering the people that you have, as part of your team. And, my dad started our business, was a fantastic technician, got into it out of the craft. And, I'm extremely grateful for my dad and his hard work and laying the groundwork, but dad was not a people person. Right. And so understanding that and understanding just the many challenges that come with it, I think you kind of have to always be sharpening your tools, no matter what it is, right? On the vehicle side, on the leadership and the employment side. And so for us, we've done that through specialization. We really believe in repairing the vehicles that we're certified in, that we're trained in, that we're going out and investing the equipment in. And so if we've got something that shows up to our door and it's something that we're not certified in, we'll turn it away. Where I don't think a lot of people kind of look at it like that, especially with the claims count kind of, pulling back and the market really shrinking up. I'm a believer in that, in the specialization. I'm sure you're familiar with Cole Strandberg and his thesis about the specialization in collision repair. That's been something that's really been a testament to our business and something that we've really, I don't know. Sometimes we probably give ourselves too much credit. I don't know if we were that intentional about it, but that's just what our business kind of evolved into. I'm sorry. And I think it's something for us that's worked really, really well. And I think from a standpoint of an industry standpoint, it's hard to be everything to everybody.
Yeah.
And I start to look at it even from a standpoint. I love to go outside of the industry to look for examples. And I've brought up Chick-fil-A and a lot of, talks and things like that. But Chick-fil-A does one thing, but they do it extremely well. And so they're not trying to do, what which I love cookout, don't get me wrong, but man, they've got hot dogs, hamburgers, milk, like they've got the full smorgasbord, right? And so Chick-fil-A does it really well. They do it with great customer service. It's not about a speed thing for them. And so I think we've adopted that kind of mentality and that mindset for us. And that's what's worked really well for us. And, I believe we've positioned ourselves to really excel, like you said, over the next 10 years. And I think that that's something that, and I know it's a super long-winded answer, but I think that that's something that people have to really start to look at, is where things are and where things are going, right? And so trying to be on the forefront of that. And that's what I really believe in.
Yeah, no, and I completely agree with you. I think that's where the independent space is going to be, is more in specialization. It's not so much about breadth, but about depth.
Mhm. Yes.
And it's interesting because, and I actually, my core business being in financial services, we kind of suffer from the same, I think, the same scarcity mentality that
Yeah.
collision shop owners face too. And I remember when I decided I'm going to niche and I'm going to focus specifically on collision shop owners. I mean, my peers were just like, well, how can you do that? What are you
Yeah,
going
you
to do?
can't do that.
Right, but you become the voice, and you can speak the language, and you understand the concerns and the things that they the
Yeah.
concerns that people have. And so I think really that's that idea of specialization is the direction that many independent shops need to get.
Well, from a competition standpoint, I don't want to name names, but there's a lot of really large MSOs, and they're all competing in the same space.
Right.
It's a cookie cutter model, that the business model is the same, and they're all trying to compete in that same space. And so, I'm a big believer in not banging your head against a concrete wall. And so, by doing the specialization thing, like, you've really carved yourself in your own market at that point in time. And quite frankly, it's hard for larger people to pivot and to play in the same sandbox that we're trying to play in, just because the adaptation and the understanding of this business model, it's not something that you can just go into, 500 or 600 locations and decide that that's something you're going to do.
Right, exactly. One thing I think that at least I see out there that owners might be concerned about or worried about, especially in this idea of specialization, is, again, the kind of the shrinking pie. But my thinking is if you're specializing and you're doing repairs right, you can increase the price of every ticket. So it not
Sure.
doesn't become about volume, it becomes about more profitability. Could you speak a little
Yeah.
bit about that?
Oh, well, yeah, of course. I think, but even to that standpoint, though, too, you also increase your market from a geographic size as well, right? So when you're specializing in something, instead of maybe a 10-mile radius, now that could expand 20, 30, 40, 50 miles, right? So you're
That's
increasing that size of it as well. And I think that obviously when you're doing things this way, we're very, very committed to the OEM way, right? And so when you talk about maximizing, each ticket, that's really been a focal point of ours. But it's really taken the old saying of you got to slow down to speed up sometimes.
right.
And so, implementing specific processes that really set your shop up to process those vehicles, you still got to be efficient, but you can also be much more thorough at that point in time. And so, whereas maybe you can process one vehicle to where someone's having to process three or four to gain the same amount of revenue out of that one vehicle, if that makes sense.
No, no, no. I think that makes complete sense.
And so if you're not careful in this industry, you can basically be the hamster on a wheel, and you're running really, really fast and really, really hard, and you're not going anywhere at
Yep.
all. And so we're
Yeah.
trying to really focus on, maximizing, each vehicle. And obviously we do that, not only with how we're processing, how we're writing, but it also enables us to provide a much different customer experience than what our competitors are going to provide to their guests at that point in time too.
Right. No, I think, and I think you hit the nail on the head. I'm going to shift gears just a little bit because,
Sure.
and it'll go kind of shift more on the operational side of things.
Mhm.
One thing I frequently see with owners who've built successful shops is that they have a successful shop, but the business still revolves around them. What are you
Yeah.
seeing out there with a lot of the independent shops?
Yeah, I mean, that's still the case in a lot of operations, more prevalent in probably ops that are, less than 10 people.
Yeah.
And it kind of has to be that way. It certainly gives you the ability to pivot. And a lot of times, those people are able to do multiple things throughout their business. So it gives them some flexibility there.
Right.
Um, I do think once you get, probably 10, 15, 20 employees, it at that point in time it becomes more a thing of how you can train others up and delegate specific things. And I think the true reflection of a leader is how well they can create other leaders.
Right.
And so it provides opportunity for other people within your organization to do things. But I think there's value in both models, right? Like for us, if I need to step away or have to be going at a, to a conference or training or things like that, like our business can still function and still run and still operate, not really skip a beat because we've invested in our people. We've got really good people.
Right.
To whereas when you get into, some smaller businesses, like that could create a cog in the production cycle at that point in time too.
Yeah.
So it just, you know, I love what I do. I love our people, but also at the same time too, I'm called to be a husband and a father
Yeah.
first and
Right.
foremost. And so, you talked about taking a cruise
Uh,
for 12 days, and kudos to you. You
Thank
earned
you.
it.
Yeah.
But when I take off, I want to be able to step away and feel like everything's still running and functioning. And so that's been important for us. Work-life balance is very, very important to our
Mhm.
culture here. And so that's something that we're invested in and our people are bought into as well. So
Yeah, and I think, the other thing, and I preach this, and I think I'm probably talking maybe to the smaller shops who it may be more difficult, but not so much it becoming less dependent, but allowing the owner to shift from just being tactical every day. And this is something my
mhm,
coach and every
mhm.
people, listeners of the podcast, I preach this all the time.
I love it.
There's tactical work where we're working in the business, and then there's
Mhm.
strategic when we're working on the
Now working on
business.
the business. Yeah,
Yeah.
love
And
it.
being able to do that. Any ideas you might be able to share with the audience on how they might be able to shift and be able to
Yeah.
get more into that strategic mode?
Well, you have to be intentional about it first and foremost.
Okay.
If it's not a priority, then it's never going to happen. And so we had basically looked for outside consulting to do that. Probably, oh man, this has probably been about 10 years ago with a company called Strong Lead. They're actually located here in Hickory, but it really was about them coming in and fostering those conversations for us, especially with us being a family owned business.
Right.
A lot of times you can get the family dynamic in some of those conversations. And so it was just something where we had to make that a priority and really focus on the business, the growth of the business. And then even, even things like within a family business, understanding each person's role and what they're
Yeah.
good at, like that helped us tremendously as well, because it basically clearly defined the roles. It helped us with clear communication and really kind of put a roadmap together on where we wanted to go and how we were going to get there. And then also, able to assign each person, I guess their rock, so to speak. So that's something that, was paramount for us. And I would highly encourage, no matter the size of the business, like that's kind of like to me it's like I guess the blueprint for your business and where you want it to go and how you're going to get there. So
Right, right. And it's interesting because, again, my passion is working with family businesses. And you and your brother are very you're different.
yeah, we
And
are.
which is typical in family businesses. And
Sure.
sometimes there can be some friction that's involved.
Yeah,
How'd
for
you
sure.
guys navigate that?
Bruh. I was glad you asked.
I mean, do you have boxing gloves in the back room or
Good.
something?
I wish I could say gracefully and elegantly, but that's not at all, how it transpired. I think like realistically, my brother started in our parents' business at a very, very young age. I think he was 16 or 17
Oh,
when he
wow.
started the business. I didn't start in the business until I was probably 21 or 22.
Okay.
So he had been in the business for nearly 10 years when I came on board, right? And I I wish I could say I was a model employee, but I wasn't. Like I was, all the bad things. And so we did not see eye to eye at all for a while. I think if you ask him, he'll tell you that he fired me. But if you ask me, I quit. So depends on who's controlling the narrative here. But
Right, right.
it got to a place to where I ended up leaving. I went and worked in another industry for about a year and a half, and my brother called me one day and basically shared his vision for the business and what he was looking to do. And he basically also realized, like, hey, like it's going to take a team of people to do it. And so I think it took both of us kind of humbling ourselves a little bit,
Right.
and then also understanding too, like my brother is so many things that I'm not, and he's so many great things too. Like he's very much a visionary, and so I'm much more people centric and can interact with people probably in a little bit of a different way. And so he obviously realized that and asked me to come back, and at that point in time, like that's when I really took it serious and kind of came in and really was a sponge and just had to soak up everything that I could and learn everything that I could from him. And obviously I'm super grateful, to my parents and then to
Mhm.
him for the opportunity. But navigating that was very difficult, right? Like it's
Yeah.
especially, growing up together, and there's always a little bit of, big brother, little brother going on there. And so very, very difficult to navigate that. But also it's allowed me and enabled us, because I've got two other younger brothers that are involved in the business
Oh, really?
for
I didn't know
as
that.
well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
so, yeah, so there's five of us total. So I have four brothers. I've got the youngest is a 16-year-old, so he's not in the business yet. But
Right.
funny story though, he says when he turns 18, the first thing he's going to do is fire Michaels. So I guess he's coming in and going straight to the top, is what he's saying.
That's funny.
Uh,
Wow.
but that's just kind of a unique thing for us. And so, but that's helped us too, because my younger brothers have so many gifts that like I don't have, or even Michael, like, and so we've all kind of just realized that we're all going to have a little bit different of a path, but we all have basically a great value to add to the business.
Yeah.
And so that's probably been one of the coolest things about doing this and doing it alongside a family, is
Yeah.
understanding that, I don't know your spiritual relationship, but understanding that God's blessed each one of us with
Amen.
unique talents, unique gifts, and also enabling us to kind of step into that, and understanding that, you know, they can't do what I can do, and I can't do what they can do. And so there's, I think a mutual respect for each other there.
Yeah.
And we've all got the same goal, right? Like our business is the same goal, but ultimately we all play a part in that. And
Yeah.
so that's been really cool. It's not been a very easy thing to navigate,
No.
but as we've all matured, that's really where it, like, we've gotten into a pretty good rhythm, is, with age and understanding that and respecting each other and things like that. So it's been a fun thing to do alongside of each other. And then obviously, I think we're up to almost 30 employees total now. And
Oh,
so we've
wow.
got, a really large team, and getting, to do that alongside of them as well. And it's just been really, really cool. And, we're really, really lucky to be able to do it together.
It's
So,
it's family legacy, and
and it is.
that's something that's really awesome. And the one thing I really kind of took out of what you were saying is this idea of humility, and you were talking
Man.
about faith, and there's this prayer. One of my clients actually shared it with me, and I have to pray it all the time. It's called the Litany of Humility. And
Mm.
it's a hard pray, man, because
I bet so.
when you're asking the Lord, help me to not get into my own ego,
Yeah.
let me become less and others become
Yeah.
more. These are
More.
all things that are, they're difficult to do, but I think you guys have been able to navigate that very well. And I think a good thing that every family owned business should look at is how do we complement? Because I think that was the other thing that you said. You and your brother are different. You and Michael
Yeah.
are very different,
Very different.
but you found in through sweat and tears and blood probably that you
Like
became
a complimentary,
complementary.
yeah, complimentary approach, yeah, to it,
Right.
yeah. That's
Right.
yeah, that's how it's had to be. And I think, in our respective daily roles, and seeing what he brings to the table and what I bring to the table, and
Right.
understanding that, yeah, that's been I think the probably the coolest part of it. And you're exactly right about the humility, right? And I think the verse everybody knows is pride cometh before the fall.
Yeah.
And it's just so true. And whether it's business or personal life, like there are things that we can get wrapped up in, where we're starting to feel ourselves a little too much, and
Right.
you can get humbled very, very fast. So yeah, that's happened, multiple times personally. And I'm sure, it will continue to be the case. But thankfully, like I said, we've got a really good team, and good dynamic here. And we really enjoy being with each other, which is, I feel like that's pretty cool and pretty unique too. So
That really is. So, question, I know we're getting close
yeah,
on time here. One thing I wanted to ask you is if a successful shop owner hopes to step back, whether become less dependent, the shop to be less dependent on them, or to eventually transition ownership, whether it's to the family, whether it's to key employees, or if they have no other options to sell, what would you say they should be doing right now?
phew, it's probably hard, but kind of begin with the end in mind, I guess. And I do feel like, just from being in the association and being, just relationships that I have in the industry, we're in a weird time to where there's a lot of people who are pretty late in their business, and they don't have kids that are really involved in it, so they don't have anybody there to leave it to. And I don't want to talk about like an exit strategy, because I think this is a great industry to be in, and I believe if it weren't lucrative, that there wouldn't be as much private equity and things like that that are trying to get into the industry, right? But certainly, I think sometimes you got to kind of take an inventory of your situation and figure out, what the right fit is for you. And that, for some people that might look like selling, but for some people, if they've got employees that are, 20, 30-year tenure and have shown promise on wanting to take the business over, or what, like whatever it may be, I think there's a unique situation for everybody. There's not a cookie cutter approach for it, but I do think it's something that you have to be. I hit on this earlier, but you just got to be intentional about it. You don't want to get to the end of it. And unfortunately, I've seen that happen too many times, where there is, people have done a poor job of planning,
Yeah.
and you get to the end of it, and now you're kind of scrambling frantically to try to figure something out.
Yeah.
And too, Matt, like tomorrow's not promised, and
Yeah.
so the better that we can plan and be prepared for, worst case scenarios, the better off our employees are. And so we try to do that too.
It's funny you say that, because the first step in any plan that I'm building for a client is always business continuity. And I tell them, I said, look, we could put the best laid plan in place for you, but if you get hit by the proverbial beer truck, what happens then? And
Yeah.
how do you ensure that your family is going to have income, going to and be able the resources to be able to maintain the lifestyle that you've spent all these years building? And I think that's a really important thing. And the other thing is, it's actually interesting, and it's fresh in my mind, because I'm currently working with a client who was actually looking to sell. And but
Mhm.
as we've been going through the initial planning process, and what I've dove into is, he's an entrepreneur at heart. And all of a sudden now he's thinking, boy, if I sell this, what am I going to do? And like my whole identity. And he wants to do things like boating and travel
Sure.
and all those type
Yeah.
of things. But he's also thinking, well, maybe I could do this for another 2 years, but if it's less dependent on me, I could be more strategic. And I think I can increase over the next
Mhm.
2, 3 years, increase profitability by 50%. All of a sudden now, because we get them thinking about what the possibilities are, now I think it kind of opens up the spectrum to them as to
Oh, sure.
what's available.
Yeah. Yeah. Then you've got multiple opportunities at that point in time. Yeah. Absolutely.
Exactly.
Agreed.
Exactly. So last question I want to ask you here,
Sure.
Kyle, is,
Yeah.
so you're sitting across the table from a 60-year-old owner, a member of your association. He spent decades building his shop. And what's the one piece of advice you'd give him about the next chapter
One piece that I would give him about the next
that you
chapter.
would give him? Yeah.
Oh man.
And you've got to run across guys like this in the association.
Yeah. Well, you're talking about like just getting into retirement, or are you talking about exiting his business?
It could be either.
Could
Doesn't
be either.
matter. I
Well,
mean, maybe
well,
it's, because again, like I talked about earlier, I think most shop owners don't know what the possibilities are out there.
mm,
Okay.
I would probably look at it through the lens of like my dad, for instance. My dad's not really involved in our business anymore.
Mhm.
Um, and I like one, I think that's a good thing. So my dad's era of the way things were done is certainly, much different than ours. And so we're trying to foster a younger generation and kind of keep up there. But also at the same time, like I'm in a place of just like gratitude, and like I want my dad to go enjoy life, right? This
Yeah.
this industry's it's a very, very difficult. It's hard. It's hard on your body. It's immensely, like the stress it can be overwhelming at times, because
Mhm.
you feel like you're getting pulled in multiple directions.
Yeah.
And so, for my dad, like my advice to him would be, one, well done. And so, two, like the next chapter of life, like enjoy it, man. Like you work hard for a reason.
Yeah.
He's built something that's very, very special and very, very unique. And obviously, my brothers and I are extremely grateful of that. But now's his time to kind of go and enjoy it. And, growing up as a kid, I can remember we would open presents Christmas morning. Well, my dad would be at the shop working, Christmas afternoon or Christmas evening, right? Like he was a
Right.
worker nature, but it wasn't because he just loved to work. Like, he was trying to provide for our family.
That's it.
And so, many business owners, they're not only providing for themselves, but they're providing for others, and they've got the weight and the burden of other people on their back. And so I think that's something that's really unique and something I'm grateful for. And I think, somebody that's been in it for 60 years and has been a grinder for that long, man, go enjoy it.
Yeah.
Now's the time.
Yeah.
Again, we talked about tomorrow's not promised. Like, go and enjoy it, and hopefully also find a new sense of purpose, right? I think so many times we can get our identity wrapped up in our business, and that can become who we are. And you see it all the time where people work for 50 years and they retire and then they die like 6 months later. And I think losing your sense of purpose could be a big reason for that. And so finding a new sense of purpose, and you almost have to find a new identity at that point in time. But
I'm glad you said that, because that's really, I think, the key thing, even in that kind of my initial planning phase with clients, is that's really the ultimate goal. Is what's going to be their new calling card? What's going to be their new business card? What's it's going to say? Because you've had a purpose for so many years of building this business, and that's become your identity. And, it's interesting. There's an exit planning group that does a study every year of business owners that have transitioned or sold. Interesting enough, 75% of them a year later regretted it because they never created a personal identity or a vision for what their life was going to look like after the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's spot on. Spot on. Yeah, I agree.
So I do have to ask you, so does Dad have a little spot in the shop where he can come in, hang out, and maybe tinker around with some cars?
He wants to stay away from cars. He's lived cars. So my dad started as a technician. I think he was 15 years old.
Oh, wow.
And so he enjoys like cool car, like Corvettes and stuff like that to drive. But other than that, he's not really into cars. He's gotten much more into like carpentry. Like, he loves doing home projects and just odds and ends stuff. And so it'd probably be cheaper if he was at the shop, to be honest with you. But
that's right.
But he's not really into it anymore. And so good for him, to each his own. You know what I'm saying?
That's exactly right. But I'm willing to bet there's a certain satisfaction he has seeing you guys carrying on the legacy.
Man, I hope so. That's kind of, I think, one of the things that drives a lot of us is, we want to innately, as a kid, we always want to make mom and dad proud, right?
Amen.
And I think I hope that that's something that we're doing, and we certainly strive to carry that legacy on and want to honor them and do the right thing. And so I feel like we're doing that, and hopefully mom and dad would see this and think the same thing. So,
well, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. So, Kyle, man, I've really just enjoyed our conversation. I wish we could go longer, but
it goes by too quick.
It does go back pretty quickly. So, that's how all of these are. And maybe at some point we can we can continue the conversation.
Oh, for sure.
Which would be awesome.
Great. But thanks, Matt.
Hey, I want to thank you for being on. The last thanks goes to you, the audience. Thank you for listening to Your Business, Your Life with me, Matt DiFrancesco. If you've not subscribed to the podcast, please click the subscribe button below. That way, when a new episode drops, you'll get it. You get to hear great guests like Kyle and all the others that we've had on. If you like what you're hearing, please give us a 5-star review. That way we move up the chart. So anyway, again, thank you to the audience. Kyle, thank you. And we'll hope to talk to you all real soon. So take care and God bless. Hey, I really want to thank you for listening to the Your Business, Your Life podcast. If you want to be notified when new episodes become available, click the subscribe button below.
All information is obtained from sources deemed reliable but not guaranteed. No tax or legal advice is given nor intended. Content provided herein or on our website should not be construed as an offer for investment advice or for securities, insurance, or other investment products. Investments involve the risk of loss and are not guaranteed. Consult a qualified legal, tax, accounting, or financial professional before implementing any investments or strategy discussed here. iLive Financial is a DBA for DiFrancesco Financial Concierge, LLC. Investment advisory services are provided through Cornerstone Planning Group, LLC, an independent advisory firm registered with the Securities and Exchange Commission.